religion such a good thing? That was Trump in a Fox News interview that aired this week. From the same guy who once claimed that the Bible was his favorite book but couldn't identify a single verse. To my knowledge, Trump hasn't stepped foot in a church, and as we saw outside the St. James Church a few years back, he doesn't have the faintest clue which end is up when it comes to the Holy Book, let alone what's in it. But even though his supporters know this, and they know better, evangelicals are more committed than ever to support a philanderer, a liar, and cheat who is a walking embodiment of almost every sin in the good book.
Neal Katyal predicted the Supreme Court will not overturn the conviction. I didn't even know that was a possibility.
It is, potentially.
To go to the Supreme Court over, okay.
Neal, I just talked about this, but there was something that the Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, said during an interview with Fox News that just stuck out to me. And you've argued so many cases before the Supreme Court. You've been in that room more than most people. He basically seemed to suggest that the Supreme Court can be relied on to save Trump, like he has them in his pot, or, you could hear that. What was your reaction to hearing him talk about the Supreme Court like that? It's a different branch of government.
Yeah, the clip you just played showed the speaker saying he knows some of the justices personally and knows that many of them are concerned. I have no idea, Jen, how he would know that. I mean, I know the justices personally, too. I have no stinking idea of what they might be thinking about this. Trump has been, I think it's important to point out, a dead loser in the Supreme Court every time that it comes up. I mean, he 8-1 on executive privilege with only Justice Thomas siding with him in the 2020 election, rebuked lots of times. And here, there is I don't think that the United States Supreme Court sits to review state convictions generally. So
this made me lose my I know it happened a couple of days ago, but Speaker Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, calling for the Supreme Court to overturn a state conviction, a Manhattan conviction that has nothing to do with the DOJ or God.
What we'll do with our tools that we have in Congress and the House is we'll use our oversight responsibility. We've already done that. You saw our Judiciary Chairman, Jim Jordan, issue requests for Alvin Bragg, the DA in Manhattan, and for the lead prosecutor, Colangelo, to show up for a hearing on June 13th in our Select Committee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, because that's what they've done. And the purpose of the hearing is to investigate what these prosecutors are doing at the state and federal level.
Yeah, the federal government's been so weaponized. The president's son is on trial today for some bolt charge that nobody, not even particularly any right-winger, thinks.
Even Lindsey Graham thinks
should be a crime.
Right.
Yes. Oh, I know. What happens every now and again, Lindsey?
Every now and again, he hears John McCain in his ear.
Yeah, like the devil, little angel. He said of the Supreme Court, I think they're deeply concerned as we are. So I think they'll set this straight, but it's going to take a while. The process takes a while to play out. The Democrats know this. They're dragging it out. That was the whole objective. They want to bankrupt Donald Trump. They want to diminish his credibility and go after his character. I'm sorry, he didn't do that to himself. And how improper is it for the speaker to imply that he's talking to members of the Supreme Court about this? I mean, he's like, oh, I know several of them, and I just blah, 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 blah. He said that this will be overturned. There's no question about it. I mean, this is the thing. The minute and by the way, this was not some half and half. Right. 34 counts guilty, unanimous, the whole jury. Okay.
Maybe they'll find some federal issue here and maybe there will be an appeal that will get there. But I think it's tough. And it's tough here, particularly because, Jen, the jury unanimously found Trump guilty, and not just of one count, but of 34 separate criminal convictions that are felonies. And they did so under the legal standard that is the hardest to prove for prosecutors, for government officials to prove in the system, beyond a reasonable doubt. They did it unanimously with all 12. They ran the table as they had to do in our system. Very, very hard to overturn that. Very hard to see the United States Supreme Court getting involved, despite what Speaker Johnson is insinuating.